Hello, my name is Julia Birchie, and I would like to answer the question, socially, who am I? This is often the question of many when it comes to deciphering identity. As for me, I have given 8 weeks to the understanding of this question, of where I fall into society on my account. To begin, it is important to acknowledge what I already know about myself. At the moment, I am about to graduate to become a full-time college student at Campbellsville University. It should also be noted that with deciding upon my future degree, it will more likely than not be that of an elementary English degree. Of course, as these factors would show, I identify under the category of an average student within society. My personal sociological self-portrait should be able to answer these questions of my categories within this research. Moving on, it is important to create a perspective on social who am I and answer on the basis of the questions on why I've chosen my path. To answer this question, I have done so to keep my status with the upper and middle class lifestyle. My parents have raised me in this lifestyle, and in order to maintain it, I have to keep a job and go to college. And of course, I have many benefits that have aided me through college life, such as perks with low cost on the scholarships due to the perks my dad gets. And I've also had many internships. And what factors have aided these aspects? Well, I have influence. I have parents, and I have a lot of siblings. And help teaching and raising them give me much experience with little children. I've even babysat other outside children, giving me even more ideas on how they act, which gives me the second point of experience. What connections have influenced this? Well, I've had internships and scholarships, mainly being that of Kia, which have funded my schooling. Not only that, I have close ties with teachers and administration, which should really come in handy when getting me into classes. And finally, I have an early start within academics. I've started school itself at the age of 4, and I've even done a dual credit program starting at the age of 13, moving forward. Next, we're going to build an outlook on culture. What qualities of my culture make me who I am today? First would be beliefs. Some beliefs of which I follow are my God and my standards, which many Americans, especially where I come from, actually hold very accountable to themselves. To move on would be the point of folkways. Some folkways of which we have are academics and manners, such as polite policies and things like that. After folkways would come norms. Important norms, which are basically unwritten rules, are attending school and participating as a good citizen. And what comes with norms are also sanctions. Sanctions are important because they are the informal or formal punishments which go with them. Some could be being called out in class or punishment from parents. Afterwards would be symbols. What are some symbols part of my culture in Kentucky? Well, that would be the cross, my Bible, birth certificate, and driver's license, which is very important to keep where I am. And after this would be values. What values do we have? Well, in my household and people around us, we have Christianity and being American. We hold that very close to ourselves. And finally would be that of material culture. What material cultures make who we are? Well, that would be our laptop and my matching clothing and books, which many other people have part of this culture as well. Going forward would be establishing the importance of socialization and how my understanding of the world shaped my idea of socialization. Well, the 7 aspects which have done so to me and have done to most of this world's habitation would be family, peer groups, school, workplace, religion, and mass media. These are very important and excruciating with establishing how everyone goes about their everyday lives, creates their habits, their mindsets, their moralities, and so forth. To narrow things down would be how would they have an effect on my beliefs? Well, they give me boundaries, they give me basis of morality and such like that. Being people will influence these things as their moralities will affect you. Next would be the effect on my norms. How would these 7 aspects affect my norms? Well, as I've said, they give me boundaries and they give me moral restrictions as well, which we more mentally than physically. And next would be how does socialization bring expansion or limitations to my social networks? Well, everyone has their own beliefs and such like that, and with having their own beliefs, these 7 aspects would cater to these beliefs and so forth, and they will influence on who people want to hang out with and how they want to present themselves to the world. Finally, would be how do these factors influence the activities and statuses I find myself in? Easily, I could say that I've learned to conform as many do. As I've said, you choose the people you want to hang around with, but they will have different mannerisms and such like that. The habits they have will become the habits you have. And lo and behold, little moving through, you conform to their habits and it'll become part of your own lifestyle. Progressing on, what statuses do I occupy and what symbols represent these? Well, to narrow things through, the 2 statuses of which I have earned would be that of a college student and a Christian. As a college student, a symbol which would define that area would be of a laptop, which people often associate busy work and such when doing their classes. And as a Christian, a symbol which represents that would be a Bible and even a cross as well. And one that I was born into, a status that I was born into, would be that of an older sister, where articles such as my clothes would be rather good symbols in retrospect, as matching would define people. Honestly, one could say that you could tell who someone is by what they wear. And do I have a master status within my life? Of course I do, as most would. Um, I am a Christian, as mentioned to be my obtained status. As a Christian, I will try my best to make decisions following after my faith that will correspond with anything I do within it. And is there any role conflict, or role strain within my status? Well, let's take being a big sister as an example. There is a lot in these areas to be covered. Being a sister, I have the role of a babysitter, and that should easily come with some role conflict, as I'll get mixed between authoritative figure and being that of just a regular sister. It's hard to get mixed between those when one is participating in these. And this adds to the role strain, which I'm too young for the authority, as my parents should have the authority within my family. And how do statuses affect the groups I choose to place myself in? Well, as most would, I actually make my friendships and people I associate with according to the statuses they convey themselves. People like being with people who remind themselves of who they are. I choose who I hang out with by their status. If they're an older sister or a Christian or even a college student who I actually really like to associate myself with. And is there a primary group and a secondary group included? Easily, I would say that with college, as another example, I make friend groups out of classes. And since this is a primary group, which would be more intimate and even smaller, I will have mixes of the faculty and certain students and my tutors. And in a way, they don't need to be part of a certain secondary group, which I'll be getting to. The secondary group would be a class, and anyone from the primary group wouldn't need to be part of that. my classes are less intimate and more formal than anything. Next on would be the networks I'm in. Well, my whole social life consists of my family involved in 6 others, my small friend group, my youth group at church, and obviously my classes in tutor hall. These all consist of my networks and what make up my day-to-day life, where to get my information from, my habits, and who I choose to associate myself with. And then I have how how it affects my understanding of interactions with others. Easily, this does teach me how to talk to others, as I wasn't very talkative before. And power dynamics also go with this, as I have certain friends who hold more authority or people who chaperone the group. And the social institutions would be family, religion, education, government, and health. The most important out of them would be faith and family and education. These develop my social skills and who my life revolves around. On the next point is considering deviance. What behaviors in my life are considered deviant? Who considers what is deviant with my life, and how do I respond? Well, lashing out against my sisters would be considered deviant, and my parents would be the ones who consider deviant since they have the authority. Now I would usually respond with lashing out and rebellion with more deviance. And how about competing norms? Well, some people will have different moral restrictions, which would add to this. And what theory would go according to my deviant behavior? And are there unequal sanctions? Well, the strain theory would be a good example, as I cannot always match up to people's expectations. And it would be unequal sanctions, as my siblings would probably get different punishments due to their age. Going to the next point of what determines social mobility. What are the odds of success with social mobility within my area, and how about the odds of success on my count? This brings me to the question is, what is the sum of segregation in the area where I live? There is little segregation within my area, unless it's only occurred naturally. This goes for the same within my household. Then this brings me to the quality of public schools and the strength of social connections and networks. The quality of public schools are really bad, and there are little teachers, no organization, while my homeschooling on my county is done really well. And the strength of social connections, such as neighborhood, church, and college, are all very strong. And are the parents single or not? Mine are not, and there are at least 2 or 3 in 20 that are. This brings me to the fact that while others will have a moderate ability for success and social mobility, mine are rather high. Finally, dealing with race. What are my racial categories, ethnicity, and country origins? How did people at one point treat me differently due to race? And how has race shaped me, and how is it important to my identity? I am white with some Puerto Rican customs and mainly American lifestyle. I trace my origins from Germany, Basque, Ireland, Puerto Rico, etc. Mainly being Mexicans treat me due to my white heritage, and Puerto Ricans cater towards me. How has race shaped me, and how is it important to my identity? How has it shaped my life? How does it shape who I am? Mainly being it has deciphered who I enjoy with, and it shaped to my colleagues as they cater towards me, and it gives many benefits and scholarships. Finally, this should be expressed that this is the knowledge I have gained over the course of 8 weeks. This has been an analysis of which I would like to know of where I land in society. In conclusion, this essay has done really well to show me who I am and who I would like to identify, as most often would, in studying their own self-portrait.